Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Valvoline and Sparesbox. Don't forget Benny5 on checkout. This week we have the flares for our Pajero Mini. They finally arrived. Google Translate may have got me, and these are actually secondhand. I didn't realize that these had been used before. So today we're going to be repairing fiberglass. It's not a fun process, but hopefully it'll be a bit of a guide for you to repair side skirts, front bars, any fiberglass material at all. This is the methods that I use, so I'm going to show you guys how I do it. There's probably other ways you can do it, but basically today we're going to be preparing these flares for repair, cleaning out any cracks, removing any residue or contaminants. Also going to be trying to clean off all of that black paint because it looks like it's pretty average rattle can paint anyway, to prepare these for final painting and filling. I'm not actually going to be painting them. I'm going to get a local painter to do them for me because he is skilled and I am not, and I actually want them to look good. So we've got the 4 flares here. There's actually also 4 little flare caps as well. So yeah, we need to get all of those together, and then we'll put them all on the bench. We'll clean them up. We'll repair them, and yeah, hopefully by the end of the video, you understand how I repair fiberglass, and maybe you can do it that way as well. We've got a new workbench this week. This is a genuine HKS one, so pretty hard to come by, especially in Australia. I've seen a few pop up on Yahoo before, but to my knowledge, this is one of one in Australia. So I'm going to try and take care of it today, and hopefully it'll get us the whole way through the episode. Typical Japanese paint, nothing's prepped under it. It's just straight with the top coat. So they paint the same way I do. Not well. I've just prepared the area using some acetone, basically just wiped it down, cleaned out any imperfections or junk in the cracks. Also taken all of the paint that was on the flare off, as far as the black, cheap acrylic-y stuff. It's definitely not going to work with fiberglass. So what I'm going to do now is actually basically cut or chase all of the cracks using a 1mm angle grinder disc. So that'll give us all completely fresh material. Once I've done that, I'll sand this side with just a random orbital sander. And on the back side, I'll clean all that out with a belt sander, one of our fine little file sanders. That'll tidy all that up, then prepare it for fiberglassing. Once I've got it all prepared, I'm actually going to basically do one layer on the top. Then I'm going to tape that area to basically give it some strength and structure. Then we'll flip it over and we'll do the majority of the repair actually from the back side, so that there's minimal dressing and repair to do on the top side before final sanding and paint. So now I'm going to chase out all these cracks. Then we get to do all the fun stuff. Fiberglass, it's worth mentioning, is no joke. PPE, even for me, someone who's not really a PPE-ologist, I've gone pretty wild. Yes, these are TIG welding gloves. As it turns out, when you buy the wrong gloves, they don't fit your hand. I grabbed a box of medium gloves when I went to my magical PPE store, and unfortunately it's the only ones I have. So I've improvised, I've taped these on so they're actually tight at the cuff, because as much as you want to be tied up, well, you want to basically be sealed from the fiberglass. Now, you may get fiberglass come through some of these as well, so unfortunately these things will be in the bin after this fiberglassing expedition, but small sacrifice to keep all the tiny little fibers out of your hands. Same thing, got a mask and glasses, because as bad as these fibers are in your skin, they're even worse in your lungs. So don't be breathing fiberglass, it's not a good time. Time for chopping. This is our fiberglass repair kit. Now this is a small scale, like a DIY repair. It's the sort of thing you would use to repair exactly this sort of scenario where you've broken something. You obviously can also buy the mat, the catalyst, and the resin separately, depending on sort of what sort of prepare or what you're making. Obviously, if you want to make a part, this sort of kit isn't the way to do it because it's obviously smaller package commercial, like a DIY quantity. You can buy 20 litre, 60 litre, 205 litre drums of this resin, and obviously bulk quantities of catalyst as well. So yeah, just pick the product to suit obviously whatever you're trying to do. Fair chance, however, if you're watching this video, you're not going to go and buy a 205 litre drum of polyester resin. There's a few things that you need to know. Obviously, fiberglass is traditionally a two-part mixture. It's a chemical reaction between the catalyst and the resin. So depending on the temperature of the day, you do also need to refer to the instructions that come in the kit. Normally, if it's a warm day, say sort of 25 degrees or warmer, you won't put as much catalyst in, but follow the instructions in your kit because some kits are different and some ratios are different. So we're going to obviously follow the instructions today and mix our hardener to our catalyst to our resin in the correct ratio. It's about 15 degrees today. Gian's only got thermals on instead of thermals and a snow jacket, so that's how you can tell it's about 15 degrees. But we're going to chop up our mat now. Once we've got our mat chopped into nice usable sizes for the repair we're going to do, we'll mix the catalyst and the resin together because the second you mix it, the reaction starts. You can't slow it down or stop it, so you've only got a finite amount of time to use that resin and catalyst mixture before you throw it in the bin. It's worth noting too, disposable paintbrushes that go, there's absolutely no point trying to save these things. Like this particular one comes with a kit, but I do have 3 other ones in case we need to mix multiple batches. So yeah, just throw these things in the bin. I know I'm not about wasting stuff normally, but you will spend hours trying to reclaim one of these, and a pack of them is normally about 3 for $5 at most hardware shops in Australia. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're doing your fiberglassing. That yeah, you throw these out, you throw the mixing cups out as well. I've got 2 more mixing cups there for the same reason. The kit actually comes with gloves too, so had a win. I did know the gloves were in here, but I didn't want to take a chance on ruining them while I was sanding the other bits, hence the TIG gloves and these. So yeah, this will obviously give me a bit more dexterity and will allow me to be able to cut this up and do all the fine motor skills required for fixing all this junk. But we're going to dive in, chop the mat, keep on going. All the itchies. Oh shit, I cut the HKS table. We've just referred to the instructions in our Septone kit. It says for every 50 millilitres of resin, you want to put 40 drops of catalyst for a cold day. So we've got 100 mil in there, so we're going to put 80 drops in. So hopefully you can count better than I can. Our fiberglassing is currently all laid down. We've got 1 layer and in some spots 2 to 3 layers. So we're gonna let that cure overnight and we'll come back to it tomorrow. And it's all looking pretty good so far. One part's actually already started to gel off, which I'm quite happy with. So I can look at that and work out how much we need to build up. I think it's actually gonna end up being too high on the top side. So we're gonna have to backfill that a fair bit and sand it down, which that's totally fine because I basically just wanted to get a basic structure there so we could build up upon it anyway. So yeah, pretty happy with how that's come together, and give it a bit of a whiz in the morning and work out how much more needs to be filled and where it needs to be filled and repaired. All the other bits are all looking pretty good. Most of them are all small little holes, and just little blowouts where they've had screws put through them and they're quite slightly too close to the edge. So yeah, once they're all sanded back, they're pretty much only going to sand the face side, the top side where the repair's been laid. I only take very high spots off because I don't want to take any strength out of that. And I want to avoid obviously the screws blowing out again, because there's no point making all these repairs if the first time I try and screw it or rivet it to the car, it just blows out again. So yeah, trying to be mindful of making those repairs long lasting, and fingers crossed that's the case. So we'll pack up and see you in the morning. And we're back. It's the next day. Everything's dried off. So now it's basically time to start sanding everything out, working out what needs to have a second coat, what needs to be repaired, because some of the stuff, already looking at it now, I can see there's some air bubbles in this piece particularly. So when I sand through that top layer, obviously we're going to have a lot of holes, but I will show you guys how to fix that, as well as obviously continuing along with our repairs. So we'll get the sander out, make some mess, ruin another hoodie, and keep on going. The only thing I've got is a little bit of a blowout there, which I was expecting. Put another couple of coats just from the backside just to reinforce it a bit more. And yeah, I think that'll be pretty good. Nailed it. And the project continues. There's been lots of sanding and filling and fiberglassing and cutting, and unfortunately, after wiping all of these things down with thinners and removing all of the old black paint, I found some more cracks which were literally just full of paint. So I've just basically cut all of that out in these two particular parts, and we're going to repair that now. So yeah, more fiberglassing, and I've actually sanded down this, and it's come up really well. I did blow through it a little bit, which I was expecting, so I'm just going to tape off this front edge and fill it from the back, or keep fiberglassing it from the back. And this piece where I found more cracks, this is actually where we repaired this section yesterday. So basically going to create a dam out of masking tape and make some fiberglass filler to fill that gap as well. It's solid, but yeah, it definitely needs to be filled because currently it's a bit of a flat, sort of a bit of a flat valley in there. So we want to fill that out and make it a bit nicer. So make it pretty, so then when Taylor paints them, it doesn't take 7,000 hours of his time. I can waste my time, not his. More filling. This is a concoction which I've come up with. I'm not sure if other people do it or not, but I found that mixing just the chop mat, actually chopped up even finer with resin. I normally do this at the last point of when I'm doing a fiberglassing job. It just makes a nice filler. It's a pretty good consistency where you don't have a lot of resin running out of it. It's fairly dry as far as this sort of mix goes. There are commercial products like Fiberfill, which is basically a hybrid between body filler and a fiberglass filler, and fiberglass I should say, but I find that stuff's actually really heavy and it's not great for fiberglass repairs because it can actually be more dense than the fiberglass around it, so you end up sanding heaps more of the fiberglass away than the filler. Whereas this obviously is the exact same density as the fiberglass because it is exactly the same as the rest of the material. What I will do is also build up a masking tape edge on the part that I need to repair and basically just make a dam to hold all of this in position, because without it, although it's not particularly wet, it will still run and move. So we'll build up a higher piece of material than required and then we'll just sand it back to size. It's not a particularly precise way of doing it, but it does beat trying to make a mold to repair it in a mold piece. Especially for a part like this, which is basically a one-off piece. If you're repairing aero or something that you've bought from Japan, this is a good way of repairing it without having to fill it with bog, because bog's not structural either though. The fiberglass fibers in this will make even this filler structural to the rest of the piece, whereas bog realistically is just for filling holes. So yeah, if you muck around with fiberglass, this is a good way to actually fill some holes and patch some smaller voids in your own fiberglass repairs without filling it with bog and having no strength. So structural repair, not just filling holes. As soon as you try and tackle any type of bodywork, obviously things start to slow down. There's a lot of drying time as well as sanding and cleaning and preparation. This episode's been no different. We have managed to repair all of our flares and bumper bar extensions. However, they are still drying. I don't really think it's worth filming a third day of us just sanding and filling again, but you guys have now got a bit of an understanding on how I repair fiberglass parts, both with the matte process and as well obviously with the filler hybrid material that I mix up. Hopefully that helps you guys to repair any automotive stuff obviously, as well as any fiberglass products at all. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Something a little bit different. Next time you guys see the flares, we're going to be doing a test fit and then the final fit of them in the same episode. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.